My husband has a strange fetish. He doesn't allow me to call him husband in public. I have to call him brother in a sweet, coquettish voice. Every time I do, he transfers 520 yuan to my account. I used to think this was just our little way of flirting. Until the first day of the May Day holiday, when my account suddenly received 52 million yuan. I went to find my husband to act spoiled, but I accidentally overheard him talking to his secretary. Hubby, our marriage is such a big deal. Why didn't you invite that younger sister of yours? Don't you usually dote on her the most? Be good. That sister of mine worships money. I'm afraid if she finds out, she'll pester you for cash. Lu Ruyan pouted. Looking displeased, she turned away in a huff. Arrange for my wife to go to Paris for the fashion show. Don't let her come back anytime soon. Regarding the public wedding between me and Ruyan, keep it under wraps. Block all news. Whatever you do, don't let my wife know. So, making me call him brother was only to prevent that woman outside, that sister Ruyan, from knowing I exist. Well, in that case, once I go to Paris, I'm never coming back. The next day in the banquet hall, he handed me the invitation and the flight tickets. Things have been too busy at the office lately. Haven't you always wanted to see the exhibitions in Paris? It's the perfect time to go and relax. At that moment, listening to his voice, even breathing felt tight with pain. The noise of the banquet was left behind the car window. The Lamborghini drove smoothly into the night. I sat in the passenger seat, clutching tightly in my hand a first-class ticket to Paris. If I hadn't been on the terrace and overheard that conversation by chance, I probably would have been full of joy and even deeply moved, thinking he was so busy, yet still remembered what I liked. But now, he's using 52 million yuan in pocket money to dismiss me and using the Paris fashion show to send me away. In the end, it's all just to give Lu Ruyan a grand, public wedding. The car stopped at the villa entrance. Our 5-year-old daughter, Tuantuan, with her bare little feet, ran all the way out from the nursery. She gave a crisp, clear shout. Daddy! Daddy, look! Today at kindergarten, I drew the 3 of us. The teacher said mine was the best and gave me a little red flower as a reward. I walked over to take the drawing for her, but Tuantuan stubbornly held it up, looking at Chen Ze with eyes full of hope. But Chen Ze's gaze never left his phone screen. Between his brows, there was a look of tender affection he never showed to me or our daughter. Tuantuan's arms grew tired from holding it up with her chubby little hand. She gently tugged at his suit trousers. Daddy, please look at my drawing. Chen Ze still didn't react. In Tuantuan's voice, there was already a hint of crying. Only then did Chen Ze finally look up, frowning slightly. It's a good drawing. Go to sleep now. Didn't even actually rest on that drawing. For a single second, Tuantuan's little mouth immediately slumped down. Her eyes turned red instantly. My heart ached so much I could barely breathe. I pulled Tuantuan into my arms. It wasn't until the nanny took Tuantuan back to her room that I looked up, staring at Chen Ze's familiar face. Have you really been that busy lately? Why are you asking that all of a sudden? The Paris trip, isn't that scheduled for next week? Since it's a vacation, aren't you coming with me? The fingers of Chen Ze's left hand gently rubbed the Patek Philippe dial on his right wrist. The company just landed a major project. I can't get away right now. This has been his habit since childhood. Whenever he lies, he subconsciously touches whatever is on his wrist. Back when we were dating, he was keeping a secret from me, preparing the engagement ring. When I asked him where he'd been, he would rub his watch dial just like this. Back then, I even thought the way he lied was cute, but now it just makes me feel sick. After putting Tuantuan to sleep, I walked quietly out of the nursery. From the master bedroom came the sound of Chen Ze's steady breathing, so I turned and went into the study. I opened my laptop by the moonlight and clicked on that hidden private email account. In the inbox, there sat an email from 2 weeks ago. The headquarters of a top haute couture brand had officially sent me an invitation, asking me to serve as their chief designer. 6 years ago, I was the fashion world's most sought-after rising star. I was even called by the industry the most gifted genius designer. Then I married Chen Ze. He held my hand, and with red eyes he said he didn't want me to work too hard. He said he would provide for me and give me the most stable home to avoid hindering his career. I willingly gave up my name and became, in those circles, just another wealthy wife, passing her days on his money, even in front of outsiders, to play along with his ridiculous scheme. I could only appear as his younger sister. I stared at the French on the screen, my fingers falling onto the keyboard. I accept the invitation. I will start next week on time. My heart, silent for 6 years, suddenly began to throb violently. 3 days before departure, I went to Chen Ze's Fashion Group headquarters to handle the paperwork and collect my visa documents. Along the way, the veteran employees all cast complicated looks my way. They all knew that I'd been behind the scenes all these years, providing the company with its core designs. But almost no one knew that I was the real Mrs. Chen. As I reached the door of the CEO's office, the door suddenly swung open from the inside. Lu Ruyan walked out. She was wearing a slip dress. She froze for a moment when she saw me, then covered her mouth and giggled. Why is Sister Ningbing here? Are you here for more pocket money from Ze? Honestly, if you bought fewer bags, you wouldn't have to keep running to the office and disturbing Ze's work. Lu Ruyan acted with total confidence, putting on the airs of the lady of the house, because Chen Ze had told her that I was just an insatiable sister, forced upon him by the family to live off his wealth. I looked coldly at her. On the side of her neck, that glaring red mark was exceptionally prominent. Last night, Chen Ze said he had to work overtime at the office and didn't come home all night. Move. Ningbing, don't be angry. I know you have never liked me. But Ze said, after we have our wedding, you'll have to start calling me sister-in-law. Chen Ze walked quickly out of the office and immediately pulled Lu Ruyan behind his back. He wasn't even wearing his suit jacket, and his white shirt had 3 buttons undone. On his collarbone, there was even a faint trace of a lipstick stain. Chen Ze looked at me with a frown. Bai Ningbing, what are you making a scene for now? I'm here for my Paris travel documents. Chen Ze's expression finally softened a bit. The files are on the desk. Go in and get them yourself. I brushed past them and entered the office. Just as I was about to leave with the files, my gaze accidentally caught the edge of a document. A photo was peeking out from underneath. Lu Ruyan was in a white wedding dress, smiling sweetly and radiantly, leaning into Chen Ze's arms. Chen Ze was looking down at her, his eyes full of inseparable tenderness. On the back of the photo was Lu Ruyan's elegant handwriting. May Mr. Chen and the future Mrs. Chen love each other forever. In that very instant, it felt like the blood in my body was flowing backward. Chen Ze saw the photo in my hand, and his face changed instantly. He snatched the photo from my hand. My movement was too sudden, knocking over the coffee cup on the table. Who told you to go through my things? I looked at him calmly. I hurriedly pulled out a tissue to wipe the coffee stain off the photo. I was so careful. I turned around and walked out of the office step by step, never looking back, because I was afraid that if I did, I wouldn't be able to hold back my tears. That night, I made Chen Ze's favorite dish, sweet and sour pork ribs. Tuantuan sat in her high chair, looking at me curiously. Mommy is so happy today. I ruffled her hair. I didn't say anything, because this was our last meal together. But tonight was unusual. Chen Ze actually came home on time. He even went as far as to compliment the food at the table. The ribs taste good. Thanks for your hard work. I lowered my head and poked at the rice in my bowl, not saying a word in response. After dinner, Chen Ze went to the balcony to take a call. Tuantuan, from behind the floor-to-ceiling window in the living room, poked her little head out. She tugged at the corner of my shirt. Mommy, look. Daddy smiled just now. It had been such a long time since he had smiled at home. I walked behind the glass door, through a narrow crack in the door. His voice drifted into my ears on the night breeze. It was crystal clear. The wedding dress size, I've already had someone alter it. Go try it on at the shop tomorrow. Chen Ze chuckled softly. Of course, we have to choose the most expensive one. You are the only wife Chen Ze will ever have. I want to give you the very best. My heart gave a sharp, painful tug. It hurt so much I doubled over. The kitchen faucet was turned on to the max by me. The sound of rushing water drowned out my uncontrollable sobbing. Tuantuan ran over and stood on her tiptoes, patting my back with her soft little hands. "Mommy, don't cry. Tuantuan will protect you." Crouched down and held my only treasure tight. My tears finally broke through the dam. When we went to sleep that night,
Chen Ze lay beside me.
He fell asleep quickly. I stayed awake until the middle of the night. He turned over and wrapped his arm around my waist out of habit. He pulled me into his arms, burying his face in the crook of my neck. His kiss landed precisely on my neck. This was what he did when we were first married, a gesture he performed every single night. But after Lu Ruyan appeared, he came home less and less often. This gesture, I hadn't felt it in nearly a year. But at this moment I stiffened. I only felt a chill run through me. I pried his fingers off one by one. I got out of bed and sat on the sofa alone until dawn. The next day, there was an executive meeting for the fashion group because for this big show, I was to be the lead designer. I had designed an entire haute couture collection, so I went to the conference room. All the executives and core designers were already there. Chen Ze sat at the head of the table. Lu Ruyan sat beside him, acting every bit the lady of the house. The meeting had just begun when Chen Ze dropped a bombshell of news. For next month's annual show, the signature and lead role for the finale series would be handed over entirely to Lu Ruyan. Everyone's eyes instantly fell on me. Everyone knew that the series called Nirvana was something I had spent 3 years on, staying up countless nights, a work I had polished with my own hands. It was originally meant to commemorate the anniversary of Chen Ze and me, our 7th wedding anniversary gift. I stood up and looked straight at Chen Ze. "Why? Ruyan is younger, and her concepts are more in line with the current market. Your designs are a bit too heavy. Besides, you don't need this bit of fame anyway. Take the money and go to Paris to clear your head." "Don't worry, Sister Ningbing. Brother Ze says I have a special talent, and he's handed this series over to me. I will definitely make it shine. I certainly won't let your hard work go to waste." "Okay. Don't regret this." After the meeting ended, I went to the restroom and splashed cold water on my face. The door was pushed open. Lu Ruyan walked in. She walked up to me, taking out a limited edition lipstick to touch up her makeup. "Bai Ningbing, I actually feel quite sorry for you. You think Brother Ze really treats you like a sister? He's been sick of you for a long time. Every day you only know how to ask for money. You're no fun at all. Men, you know. Who would like a dull, aging wife?" She deliberately adjusted her neckline, revealing a large expanse of skin and those glaring marks. "I won't hide it from you. Next week is when Ze and I will announce our wedding to the public at the city's top hotel, with 1,999 air-freighted white roses. By then you'll be in Paris. Watch me closely and see how I become the rightful Mrs. Chen." Congratulations. Those 2 words, which Lu Ruyan had prepared, all the vicious words, were all stuck in my throat. I walked straight out of the restroom. She had no idea that the design drafts for the Nirvana series were only 80% complete. The core tailoring techniques and data were only in my head. When the big show starts, they'll have plenty to cry about. After returning home, I started packing my luggage. Actually, there wasn't much to pack. Every single thing here was stained with the stench of hypocrisy and lies. I only took my own design sketches and a few of Tuantuan's old clothes. Chen Ze saw the luggage when he came home from work. He frowned. "Why are you taking so much stuff?" I replied coolly, "I'm going for a while." On the morning of the departure, the sun was beautiful. I held Tuantuan's hand, watching Chen Ze, who was putting on his suit jacket. I made one last attempt to test him. "Chen Ze, what if I don't want to go to Paris anymore?" His movements as he tied his tie paused. "If I don't go, will you stay to be with me? Can you?" A flash of panic and irritation crossed Chen Ze's eyes. "Bai Ningbing, what kind of tantrum are you throwing again? The tickets and hotel were booked half a month ago. Don't be willful. Let's go. I'll take you both to the airport." "That's fine too." On the way, the car was suffocatingly quiet. When we arrived at the airport departure hall, Tuantuan ran up to Chen Ze. "Daddy, Are you really not coming with us? Tuantuan, be good. Once Daddy is done with this busy period, I'll come pick you up. Listen to Mommy when you get there. Send me a message when you land. Spend whatever you want on the card. I looked at this face I had loved for 7 years, the face that had hurt me so deeply.
Chen Ze.
Goodbye. May we never meet again in this lifetime. After 13 hours of high-altitude flight, the air currents kept bumping the plane. Outside the cabin were clouds at tens of thousands of feet. The plane landed smoothly. Charles de Gaulle Airport. The runway gradually magnified in my sight. Tire friction. A slight tremor came from the ground. Mommy, the plane isn't shaking anymore. Are we there yet? Yes, we're in Paris. This is Mommy's first time leaving Jiangqing in 6 years. Mommy hears. The air smells cool. It's different from home. Yes, it's very clean. The arrival hall was bustling with people. Everywhere were unfamiliar faces. But I saw Irene at a glance. The CEO of Schneider Greater China. And the one who brought me into the fashion world back then. My mentor. He walked quickly toward me. He pulled me into a hug. His grip was so tight it made my bones ache. It's been a full 6 years. You finally decided to leave that quagmire. I didn't pull away. Instead, I hugged him back. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath of the Parisian air. Even breathing felt smoother than ever before. No more lies. And no more cheap brother figures. Irene let go of me and looked down at Tuantuan beside us. Hello, pretty lady. Irene was amused and laughed. She turned and signaled to her assistant to take our luggage. We got into a business van, and the car headed toward downtown Paris. Outside the window was the street view along the Seine. Everything has been arranged at headquarters. The entire board of directors is online, and they have been looking forward to your return for a long time. I took the paper cup, feeling the perfect warmth in my palm. I took a gentle sip, the bitterness sliding down my throat. And I felt much more clear-headed. The car stopped at 31 Rue Cambon, the headquarters of the Schneider building. It was understated yet steeped in history. I pushed open the heavy glass door and was taken directly to the third-floor conference room. Beside the long conference table sat the entire core team. I walked forward and stood beside the large screen. Everyone, I am Bai Ningbing. The first visual concept appeared on the screen. The folder was named after me, changed just yesterday, to completely bid farewell to that unbearable past. This collection, which exhausted all my efforts, was originally called Nirvana. Now, it is called Rebirth. From the overall silhouette to the button material specifications, every detail was clearly presented before everyone's eyes. The conference room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, with only the faint sound of the fan spinning. Everyone stared intently at the screen. First, they held their breath, then began to whisper among themselves. Immediately after, there were continuous gasps of amazement. Design director Pierre pushed back his chair, stood up abruptly, and walked to the front of the screen, almost pressing his face against it. I watched him take off his reading glasses and applaud vigorously. The applause echoed through the conference room. My God. This is simply incredible. Bai Ningbing, look at this tailoring. And look at this stunning structural craftsmanship. Only you would dare to break conventional proportions like this. You were simply born for haute couture. True genius. The conference room erupted in warm applause. There was no hypocritical flattery, only pure recognition of the design itself. Irene stood to the side and raised her coffee cup to me. Pierre turned around. No need for further discussion. At next month's Paris Fashion Week, this will be our grand finale. The team made the decision on the spot, unanimously approved. After the meeting ended, I walked into the restroom at the end of the hall. The marble vanity felt cold to the touch. I turned on the brass faucet to wash my hands. I looked up at the woman in the mirror. Her complexion was still pale, and there were dark circles under her eyes. I had grown my hair for 7 years, reaching down to my waist, only because Chen Ze once stroked my hair and said, "You look best with long straight black hair." For that half-hearted comment of his, I carefully maintained it, for over 2,000 days and nights. No matter how troublesome, I never cut it short. Just for fear of displeasing him. Looking back now, it was truly ridiculously stupid. In the utility tray beside the sink lay a pair of scissors. The ones used for opening packages. I reached out and picked them up. Gripping the plastic handle, I aimed at the spot below my ears, without even blinking. With a snap, a lock of long hair fell away. I didn't hesitate at all. The black hair fell in clumps, piling up into a small heap of black strands at my feet, until the mirror revealed a woman with a short, chin-length bob, with sharp, clean contours. My neck was exposed to the air, feeling a bit chilly, but it felt incredibly liberating. I opened my bag and pulled out that tube of bright red lipstick. I twisted it open and applied it to my lips, blending it gently. The red lips made my whole complexion look brighter. The eyes of the woman in the mirror finally had an edge to them. Chen Ze, this is the real me, Bai Ningbing. No longer that wealthy housewife who only cared about the kitchen. Meanwhile, in Jiangcheng, a scene was unfolding, one that was absurd to the extreme. Chen Ze had booked the city center's top-tier Bulgari hotel, taking up 3 whole floors. 1,999 air-freighted white roses covered the entire banquet hall. People were praising President Chen for being devoted and loyal, but no one knew that just a few days ago, this so-called devoted President Chen was still lying in my bed. Tuantuan was holding my tablet, watching a cartoon. Suddenly he stopped moving, his little finger pointing at the screen. "Mom, look." I leaned over to take a look. The tablet was playing a live broadcast of the wedding back home. The two were standing in a sea of roses, exchanging wedding rings. Chen Ze leaned down to kiss Lu Ruyan. Tuantuan furrowed his little brows, his finger tapping lightly on the screen. "Mom, why is Dad wearing those clothes? Why is he kissing that bad lady?" I didn't take the tablet from him. Because that dad was already broken. The gears inside him had rusted. We don't want him anymore. Mom is right. Even the kids at kindergarten know. That broken toys get smelly. We need to throw it in the trash can immediately. The wedding in Jiangcheng had just ended, the toast segment having just passed. Lu Ruyan hadn't even had time to take off that $1 million custom wedding dress before he hiked up his skirt and rushed to the group headquarters with his assistant. He had been put on a pedestal by everyone today, his vanity inflated to the extreme. This moment, he couldn't wait to prove himself in front of the whole company, to prove he was qualified to lead the big show. He kicked open the door to the pattern-making room arrogantly. Master Zhang, the head of the pattern-making department, walked over. He was an old tailor with 20 years of experience. He picked up the drawing on the table and took a look, his brows knitting into a knot on the spot. He looked it over twice before looking up at Lu Ruyan. "Madam, this drawing is wrong." "What's wrong with it? It only has the outer silhouette and color scheme. Where are the core 3D tailoring data?" Master Zhang continued to press. "This part at the waist, the most complex cutout design, the fabric splicing technique. The instructions are all blank. What kind of lining should be used? And how should it be cinched to fit the curves?" A barrage of professional terminology was thrown at him, but Lu Ruyan didn't understand a word of it. His job every day before was just making coffee. How would he know what 3D tailoring actually was? In his view, isn't making clothes just drawing an outline and sewing a few pieces of cloth together, but as the self-proclaimed new Mrs. Chen, he couldn't lose face. He could only pretend to be calm, straightened his body, and rolled his eyes dramatically. You are senior technicians. Can't you just fill in the data for such small details yourselves? Master Zhang almost thought he had misheard. He raised his hand to dig at his ear. Just fill it in, madam. This is haute couture. Even a millimeter of error would ruin the whole garment. I provided the highest level design concept. The concept is the core direction. Don't tell me you need me to hold your hands to operate the machines. Master Zhang was choked with anger, his face turning a liverish purple. Fine, whatever you say. Seeing him lower his head, Lu Ruyan thought he had intimidated everyone. He immediately lifted his chin. If you can't do it well, I'll deduct the whole team's bonus. After dropping this line, he left, dragging his heavy wedding dress. Master Zhang looked at the pile of scrap paper on the table, snapping his pencil in two in anger. What are you all looking at? Didn't you hear what the madam said? Just fill in the data randomly. I could even sew sleeves onto the back. Half a month slipped away so quietly. Plane trees shed their leaves, covering the Champs-Élysées. The wind blew through the umbrellas of the street corner cafe. I sat by the window on the second floor, holding an iced Americano, no sugar. It was the first time in 7 years I'd ordered one, because that person used to say that drinking cold things is bad for the stomach, and so I'd lie to myself too, saying I didn't like cold drinks. But in truth, that was just a habit of blind obedience to him. Now the icy bitterness sliding down my throat actually makes me clearer-headed than ever before. I stood up and walked back to the studio at 31 Rue Cambon. Irene was waiting for me, wearing her red-bottomed heels. In her hands she held some fabrics just air-freighted from Milan. They were all top-tier silk jacquards. Look at these materials. The workshop finished them overnight. The texture is smooth, and the weave is incredibly sophisticated. They're perfect for the finale of the big show. For that gown, let's go with this smoke gray one. Your eye for detail is as sharp as ever. The pattern makers and several veteran tailors gathered around the workbench, carefully studying my design sketches. In their eyes as they looked at me, there was nothing but admiration. No one cared whose wife I used to be, and certainly no one thought of me as a good-for-nothing who only lived to spend money. Beside the floor-to-ceiling window, a thick handmade rug was spread out. Tuantuan was lying on it, playing with a puzzle. In these past 2 weeks, he's visibly gained some weight. His little cheeks are rosy, healthy and lively. Tuantuan has recently learned a few simple French phrases. Every day he chats happily with the foreign ladies at the workshop. Mom, we're going to live here from now on, right? Yes, we'll live here from now on. That's great. I let out a soft laugh and turned back to continue checking the measurements. Life is proceeding in an orderly fashion, without even a trace of the suffocating air of Jiangcheng Chen Group headquarters. The sky in Jiangcheng was heavy and overcast that day. The panoramic conference room on the top floor was packed, but the atmosphere was stifling, making it hard to breathe. Today was the day for the internal inspection of the samples for the annual fashion show, which would determine the Chen Group's stock performance for the second half of the year.
Chen Ze walked in front,
looking smug and self-satisfied. He had just returned from his honeymoon in the Maldives. Lu Ruyan followed close behind, her face practically broadcasting the superiority of the new boss's wife. Lu Ruyan
casually tossed her Himalayan crocodile skin bag
onto the table, with an exaggerated gesture, as if afraid others wouldn't notice the millions of dollars worth of accessories she was wearing. Standing in the corner, in front of the group of pattern makers, she looked particularly jarring. The supervisor led the team with their heads bowed. They were all terrified, their faces pale and ashen. These past few days they felt like they had been through torture. The boss's wife kept messing with the designs, and if anyone dared to offer an opinion, she would threaten to cut their bonuses. In the end, they had no choice but to bite the bullet and blindly follow her instructions. Time was running out. Let's inspect the samples now. Ruyan, you've worked hard lately. Let everyone see your results. With the wife personally taking the lead, this show is sure to be a hit. The Chen Group's fashion sense is going to reach a new level this time. Ze, don't praise me so much. I just improvised a little bit. It's just a bit of natural talent, really. Supervisor Zhang in the corner rolled his eyes dramatically and silently recited a prayer. The sycophantic praise in the room came to an abrupt halt. The conference room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. This is absolutely hideous. What on earth is this? That dress, which should have been a light, flowing silk gown, had been forcibly turned into a heavy, tacky pink curtain. The moment the model took 2 steps, a harsh, grating sound of fabric friction filled the room. Lu Ruyan thought silk was too hard to maintain. So with a wave of her hand, she replaced it all with stiff, cheap synthetic fabric. The delicate cutout design at the waist became a total disaster zone. Because there was no dart data to support it, the space meant to contour the body turned into a rope digging into the skin. The model, already thin as a rail, was forced into having bizarre folds at her waist. As she walked, the rough fringe around the hem swept the floor like a mop. And even worse, the neckline had been adorned with a circle of reflective, cheap rhinestones. Chen Ze's face
darkened visibly in being.
Chen Ze sat stiffly in his leather chair, his fingers even starting to tremble. The model walked to the table and struck a pose. A sharp tearing sound of fabric followed as the side slit seam burst open, revealing a large patch of the coarse lining underneath. The scene was incredibly embarrassing. This doesn't look like a fashion show. It looks like they're going begging. Is this what you're showing me? The company spent tens of millions on R&D. And you produced this pile of garbage? Lu Ruyan had always lived in her own delusions. She didn't understand garment construction at all. Usually Chen Ze wouldn't even say a harsh word to her. Ze, don't get angry. My sketches were so beautiful. It's the workers who were lazy and didn't do it right. Madam, please have a conscience. You only drew an outline without even specifying the fabric. This is the best result we could possibly sew. It's Bai Ningbing. Yet, it must be her. She's jealous that I married you, and bitter that I have control. Before she left, she must have tampered with the blueprints. This kind of nonsense was full of holes. But Chen Ze bought it anyway. At the end of the day, deep down he was still driven by his chauvinistic ego. He had always been convinced that his ex-wife couldn't let him go. Bai Ningbing used to love playing these, crying and throwing tantrums. All she wanted was for me to pay more attention to her and give her more pocket money. Yes, she must be throwing a tantrum. I need to teach this woman who doesn't know her place a lesson. Meanwhile, in the Paris studio, soothing French chansons were playing. My phone suddenly vibrated on the workbench. The screen lit up with the name Chen Ze flashing. I felt no ripple of emotion. Boss Bai, do you need me to answer it? I shook my head gently. As soon as I picked up, Bai Ningbing, what are you playing at? Did you withhold the core data? The show is imminent. Don't you know the urgency of this? Send me the missing files immediately. What's gotten into you, Mr. Chen? I left a note on the table. The progress was only at 80%. Your so-called highly talented new wife. Didn't she promise to take full control? How come the rags she bought are unwearable? Now you're thinking of asking your ex to save the day? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. He probably didn't expect me to be so blunt. You know, I never dared to talk back to him before. Ningbing, there's a limit to throwing tantrums. This is affecting the company's reputation. Be a good girl and listen. Send the files to my private email. He self-righteously dangled a carrot. When you come back, that Himalayan bag you've wanted for so long, I'll have the store manager send it to you tomorrow, and I'll transfer 10 million to your account as compensation. You should be happy now, right? How pathetic. In his eyes, my self-respect and dignity could all be calculated in handbags. I looked at my sharp bob in the mirror, my lips painted in bright red lipstick, and raised an eyebrow. Chen Ze, are you deaf? Let me repeat myself for free. Keep your cheap bags and your dirty money. For your Ruyan sister, go buy some brain supplements. Clean up the mess you made yourselves. Get down there and lick it clean. The call ended right there. Then tap on settings. One tap block. And while you're at it, clear all his records from WeChat. Drag his email address into the block list. Clean and decisive. Everyone was too afraid to even breathe. The sound from the speaker was crystal clear. That rude, abrupt hang-up echoed against the marble walls. That timid, submissive Bai Ningbing, the one who couldn't live without him, a housewife, actually hung up on him and used such vicious words to curse him. Brother Ze, look how arrogant he is. He did it on purpose, trying to make us a laughingstock. Chen Ze turned his head and stared at him intensely, his gaze filled with disgust and irritation, scaring Lu Ruyan into cutting off her sentence. She swallowed the rest of her words. A sense of panic like never before surged into the man's heart. It was as if in the dead of winter, he had been doused with a bucket of ice water. Everything had completely derailed. Go and check it out. What on earth has he been doing over there? Pull up all his transaction records. I don't believe he can just grow wings and fly away. Paris is so expensive. He's a rich housewife who hasn't worked in years. Cut off his credit card. He won't last 3 days. The assistant scrambled out of the conference room. The air inside was suffocatingly tense. No one dared to end the meeting early. Everyone was counting the seconds in their seats. Mr. Chen, something big happened. Speak. All the bank cards under the wife's name, including the supplementary black card with no limit. Not a single cent has been touched in the last 2 weeks. The conference room was deathly silent. Even the sound of breathing was amplified. Lin Sen stammered to add. The final blow. The hotel front desk also sent an email. The wife never even checked in. The reservation was cancelled upon arrival. It was fully cancelled on the first day. Lin Sen was hit in the face by the papers. He didn't even dare to dodge. He kept his head down, playing dead. The door was kicked open violently. It slammed hard against the doorframe. The air on the entire floor trembled. The executive elevator plummeted straight to the basement garage. He found the black Lamborghini. Unlock. Pull the door open. Sit in the driver's seat. The movements were fluid and swift. At high noon, the sunlight was blindingly painful to the eyes. Get out of the way. Get out of my way, all of you. The ear-piercing sound of the horn, attracting the side eyes of pedestrians nearby. Driving against traffic over the double yellow line, a sharp screech of brakes came from the opposite lane. Are you fucking crazy? In such a rush to reincarnate? One red light after another along the way. He didn't stop for a single one. The flash of the electronic traffic cameras flashed repeatedly in the rearview mirror, capturing countless speeding and red light violation photos. It doesn't matter anymore, letting his driver's license face the risk of suspension. I need to get home quickly. I must ask him face to face. What kind of game is Bai Ningbing playing? A 20-minute drive was cut down to 10 minutes. The Lamborghini roared in, stopping by the fountain in his own garden. The speed was too fast. The front of the car crashed into a rose bush. Bright red petals fell all over the ground. In the past, whenever he came back, no matter how late it was, Tuantuan would run over barefoot to hug his leg and call out sweetly, "Daddy." Bai Ningbing would be wearing an apron, coming out of the kitchen to take his coat. Now everything is desolate. He walked into the living room. The leather sofa was smooth and undisturbed. The TV screen reflected his lonely figure. He ran toward the kitchen. The kitchen counter was wiped spotless. There was no smell of cooking at all. He opened the double-door refrigerator. Where's the pickled garlic? The pickled garlic she made herself? It completely lost its sense of life. This is not a home someone just left. He never intended to come back.
Impossible.
Bai Ningbing, you can't just leave like this. You left so calmly, so decisively. He walked straight to the walk-in closet. This is where Bai Ningbing usually, the area she hated stepping into most, because it was filled with his charity and lies. He opened the jewelry display case. Dazzling jewelry lay quietly on the tray. She didn't take a single piece. Aren't these all things she wanted? The outer plastic film wasn't even torn off. All limited editions bought just to appease her. On the bag wall next to it, arranged neatly by color and leather. These expensive luxury goods. He hadn't even touched them. His gaze swept to the innermost wardrobe, a small area belonging to Bai Ningbing. Old clothes. She took them all. She left nothing behind. He left very cleanly. My things. You didn't touch a single bit of it. Everything she took was old items unrelated to him. He turned and ran into the children's room next door. The walls were covered in pink wallpaper, but it couldn't save the desolation. The building block table was wiped clean. All the fairy tale books on the shelf were gone. He looked at the wall, where Tuantuan's drawings from kindergarten used to be. Tuantuan's drawings were also torn down. Even that one family photo. You wouldn't even leave that for me. He couldn't breathe. He stumbled back to the master bedroom. His gaze wandered to the vanity. In the past, Bai Ningbing at night would always sit there. She used to sit here waiting for me. He walked over and pulled open the bottom drawer. The sound of the sliding rail. Opening it, it was a exquisitely crafted diamond ring for their 5th wedding anniversary. He had a sudden whim and personally drew the sketch for a custom design. He hadn't had it for many days, using work being too busy as an excuse. I find it annoying to wear. He casually locked it in the drawer and never took it out again. Underneath the jewelry box was pressed a few printed A4 sheets. The paper was very thin. The edges were yellowed with age. It had been printed for a while. He reached out and pulled it out. His gaze fell on the bolded header. Divorce agreement draft. These words stung his retinas. His hands couldn't stop trembling. The paper rustled loudly. He forced himself to keep reading. The terms were pitifully few. The husband is at fault. The wife requests legal division of marital property. Tuantuan's custody belongs to the wife. Just these 2 points. This is what I prepared through my lawyer. The lawsuit demands. It wasn't notifying him to discuss, but waiting for the lawyer to formally submit the documents. She didn't want the savings. Not even the shares I'm so proud of. She didn't care for them at all. Just wants freedom and her daughter. He flipped to the last page. In the signature box at the bottom right, the name Bai Ningbing was written with great force. The strokes were deeply indented into the paper. The handwriting was upright, without a hint of reluctance. It was premeditated. Going to Paris was just an excuse to get rid of him. He had become a complete clown. Hello, the number you have dialed is disconnected. Once, twice, 3 times. Disconnected. It's disconnected again. Not only did he not spend my money, he even canceled his domestic communication methods. His words at the airport echoed in my mind. Goodbye, Chen Ze. We shall never meet again in this lifetime. I thought she was just speaking in anger at the time, throwing a little tantrum. Turns out it was an ultimatum. Outside the door came the crisp sound of the electronic lock beeping, followed by the sound of the door handle turning. Lu Ruyan was back. Her hands were full of shopping bags. The orange Hermes boxes particularly eye-catching. He had spent the day at the IFC mall, sweeping through the stores, using the supplementary card Chen Ze gave her. She spent without a second thought.
Zeggen.
Look at the wonderful things I bought for you. She looked up and happened to see Chen Ze sitting at the entrance of the master bedroom, his face ashen, eyes bloodshot, like a trapped beast, enraged but with nowhere to vent. Why did you run so fast? Oh, the floor is so cold. The issue with the sample garments is no big deal. We can just find a few more people to fix them. Those old tailors are just too clumsy. You lost your temper so badly you scared them. I'll go to the company tomorrow and redraw the 2 designs. Chen Ze looked up, staring at her face, covered in exquisite makeup. That look of someone who knows nothing but how to spend money and cause trouble. His stomach churned with disgust. He stood up abruptly, shoving her hand away forcefully. Fix them? What are you going to fix them with? That's a high-fashion runway show. You don't even know how to sew a basic dart. Yet you have the audacity to talk about fixing them. Lu Ruyan burst into tears from the pain, cowering on the floor, afraid to get up. Zeji, what are you doing? You're laying hands on me for that old hag? She's the one who wanted to leave, dumping this mess on me. What does that have to do with me? Shut up. The company's entire capital is riding on this show. If the finale sample doesn't pass inspection, the investors will pull their funding and will face a 500 million penalty for breach of contract. Can you afford to pay that? Struck by these astronomical figures, Lu Ruyan was stunned, forgetting even to cry out in pain, staring in utter shock at the enraged man. Zeji, it's not my fault. It was Bai Ningbing who framed me. Chen Ze let go of her, and with disgust pulled a tissue from a box nearby to wipe his hands. Take your things and get out right now. If tomorrow's show is ruined, I'll make you pay for your own mess. Lu Ruyan scrambled away in terror, not even bothering to grab her luxury bags, running out the door with one foot bare. The villa returned to silence. 6 years ago, it was also this late autumn. The company had just started and hit a market winter. My partner ran off with the funds, and the capital chain snapped completely. I sold my family home's deed, putting every cent into the company's account. I settled the employees, had my mother take the child away, and locked myself in a drafty rental apartment. Wrapped in a military coat, I didn't close my eyes for 3 whole days and nights. I secured a multi-million order from a top European buyer. And from the edge of bankruptcy, I dragged the company back. It was also me, to cater to his picky appetite, learning to cook new dishes every day. He finally realized what kind of priceless treasure he had pushed away with his own hands. Only 3 days left until the domestic show. At the Chun Group building in Jiangcheng, the glass doors were being slammed repeatedly. The reception desk was surrounded by several middle-aged men, all pointing fingers and shouting abuse. They were representatives from major venture capital firms. The desks were piled high, with black and white documents, all resignation letters from the pattern-making department. Mr. Chun, we've been rejected again. This isn't making clothes. This is making rags. The investors' debt collection calls are coming in again. The office phone rang, echoing through the quiet space. On the other side of the globe, on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, night had just fallen. All the giant LED screens in the city center simultaneously cut off their commercial advertisements. On a black background, a line of gold-stamped French text slowly emerged. Genius designer. Bai Ningbing, 6 years in the making, makes a powerful return. Appointed as chief designer for the Asia region. The scene shifted. A flash of striking red caught the eye. She turned slowly, her features stunning, needing no accessories to stand out. Her presence overshadowed the glamour of the entire street. In front of the third-floor floor-to-ceiling window, she watched the crowd stopping in the square. You are the center of the world's attention now. This is just the beginning. Fame knows no borders. In less than an hour, major social media platforms crashed. Programmers had to expand capacity on the fly to stabilize the servers. Isn't this the ghostwriter who was hiding behind the scenes for the Chen Group? You don't know what you're talking about. She is the famous Bai Ningbing herself. 6 years, she's finally decided to come out of seclusion. 6 years. Wait, have you noticed? Public opinion is turning against them incredibly fast. The Chen Group's official account is being flooded with hate. It's not just that, this is a masterpiece, the Chen Group is trash. Demand an explanation, you drove away a genius to promote a secretary. The Chen Group stock code is a sea of red. It's locked at the daily limit down. The news quickly reached the CEO's office.
Lin Sen, trembling,
handed over the tablet. The woman who would call me brother for 5 million. The woman who cooked in the kitchen every day. How is this possible? But I've looked at this face for 7 years. I'd recognize her even if she were reduced to ashes. This is what she's been up to for the past half month. Schneider has issued an official announcement. Ms. Bai has indeed taken over as chief designer. So she had planned her exit strategy all along. Going to Paris wasn't for a vacation. It was to ascend to the throne. Book a flight. The fastest flight to Paris. Right now. This is a checkmate. She won't even let those rags be exhibited. Forget about the show. I just want to find that woman now and ask her to her face what exactly she's trying to do. Lu Rian ran in disheveled. She had been cornered by investors downstairs. Someone had splashed half a cup of cold coffee on her. Ze, where are you going? You can't leave. Chen Ze looked at the woman at his feet. That face he once thought was pure and lovely, now looked only foolish and greedy. His eyes were filled with unconcealable disgust. You still have the nerve to mention the show? Those rags, are you going to wear them on the runway? You great beauty. You almost killed the entire Chen Group. If it weren't for you turning the pattern-making room into a disaster. If it weren't for you insisting on grabbing the lead, how would I have ended up in this state today? Zeji, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so stubborn. Call Bai Ningbing. Ask her to come back and help, okay? Still calling her sister Ningbing? Chen Ze didn't spare her another glance. He stepped over the mess on the floor. To the airport, the driver didn't dare ask questions. He floored the gas pedal. As they passed the IFC Plaza, on that giant screen, it was still looping. Schneider's teaser trailer. Just wait until I see you. I'll make you face me and give me an explanation. The pride of the industry reaching new heights. He tried to escape it by putting on noise-canceling headphones, but he couldn't block out the voices in his head. I used to think a housewife could be easily dismissed with a little extra pocket money. How ridiculous I seem to myself now. The flight began boarding. He dragged his feet into the jet bridge. During the dozen-hour flight, every single second was like torture. The plane finally arrived in distant Paris.
31 rue Cambon.
This is the world's top-tier stage of vanity. The front row is filled with fashion icons. The room is deathly quiet. Everyone is waiting for the final piece. The Rebirth collection, the grand finale is here. A white tulle dress drags across the runway. As the model walks, the hem ripples like water. The actress in the front row takes off her sunglasses. The buyers pull out their notebooks. The devil of the fashion world sits up straight. I stand in the shadows of the corner. This garment cost me 3 whole years of my heart and soul. Back in Jiangsheng, it was called Nirvana. Now it's called Rebirth. Great job tonight. Tuantuan stands at the dressing room door. She's wearing a custom pink princess dress. Mommy, you look so beautiful today. You look beautiful too, Tuantuan. Are you scared? Mom is here, so I'm not scared. I take Tuantuan's hand, and we walk from backstage to the center of the runway. This is my moment of glory. In that greasy, smoke-filled kitchen. I was trapped for 6 years. Today I finally returned here. Someone is forcing their way in. Several foreign security guards rush over. The intruder is incredibly strong. He shoves 2 security guards aside. His jacket is torn in the struggle. The handmade suit he's wearing is already in tatters. He sprints forward. The guards were caught off guard. He's running so fast. He charges to the edge of the runway, less than 3 meters away from me. Bai Ningbing. His voice cracks. In this elegant show, it sounds jarringly harsh. Chen Ze is still struggling desperately. His face pressed against the cold marble, looking utterly ridiculous. Bai Ningbing, you can't do this to me. He frees one hand and pulls a piece of paper from his inner pocket. It's a crumpled legal notice. He waves that scrap of paper frantically in the air. Using my money to vacation in Paris, and then turning around to sell the company's core designs to Schneider. I'll sue you. I'll ruin you. The cameras all turn in unison. Every single lens aimed at Chen Ze on the floor. Tuantuan hides behind me. I gently pat her back. To soothe her, I signal to my assistant Amy offstage. Amy immediately trots onto the stage. I hate you. Though the voice is soft, Chen Ze hears it perfectly clearly. I turn and walk to the center of the stage, taking the microphone from the staff member. Mr. Chen, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. Backstage director, cut the music immediately. Then switch to the multinational. Scan copies of the patent certificates. November 15, 2023. Everyone look closely. All patent rights regarding this design are now all registered under my name, Bai Ningbing. I look down at Chen Ze on the floor. This sudden blow to his property claims is the final straw that breaks him. 3 years ago, I had already laid the groundwork separating the design drafts from the core patents. The ownership of the intellectual property was always kept strictly in my own hands. The company he's worked so hard to build, in essence, is just an empty shell without its core assets. Back then, I only considered our past marriage. So I granted you free authorization for the Chung Group to use them commercially. But now I'm not happy anymore. So I've decided to unilaterally terminate the authorization. The entire process fully complies with the law. The audience gasps in shock. A wave of intense whispering breaks out. I have no intention of stopping here. Since the table is already overturned, I might as well tear everything apart. Taking wedding photos while still married, and holding a wedding ceremony without a license. The screen switches again. This time it drops a bombshell. The next image is a screenshot of office surveillance. March 17, 2026. The foreign icons all understand now. Someone lets out a long hiss of disapproval, and someone even curses. In French. Flashbulbs go off like crazy. The screen continues to scroll. This time it shows a large volume of bank transaction records. Saul Chen Ze. Using the hard-earned money I made to turn around and throw a wedding of the century for Lu Ruyan. Before the wedding, you started secretly transferring our marital assets. How dare you have the nerve to say, I used your money to vacation in Paris? Chen Ze looks at the records on the big screen, his face turning deathly pale, his lips drained of all color. I continue to press him. You let incompetent people take over the fabric production, and the finished products didn't meet standards, leaving you facing a 500 million penalty for breach of contract. Now you've chased me to Paris, trying to use underhanded methods to force me back to work for you. The mess you've made should be handled and cleaned up by you. Don't hold on to any unrealistic expectations. I always thought of Bai Ningbing as someone easy to manipulate, thinking a few threats and some small favors would make her obedient. But I miscalculated. Even the most patient person will eventually choose to fight back. The French socialites whisper to each other, pointing and sneering at him. Those mocking gazes pierce through Chen Ze. His last line of defense collapses. If he keeps holding on, he'll face total ruin and bankruptcy. Bai Ningbing. I was wrong. I was really wrong. It was all Lu Ruyan seducing me. I was confused for a moment. I've only ever had you in my heart. Please authorize the patent for the company. The investors have pulled out, and the 500 million penalty will crush me. We have 7 years of history. You can't be this heartless. 7 years of history? You tricked me into working myself to the bone, tricked me into working for you in silence, only to turn around and buy expensive jewelry for someone else, and plan a grand wedding. Talking about feelings now is really hard to accept.
Tuantuan, I'm daddy.
You love daddy the most, right? Tuantuan. Help daddy beg mommy. Let's go home as a family, okay? Daddy will buy you the biggest transformer. I'll take you to the amusement park every day and draw with you every day. But the current Tuantuan was no longer interested. Not only did she not move forward, but she stepped back in disgust. I don't want a transformer. Tuantuan grew angrier as she spoke, her little hands on her hips. The foreign reporter, wearing a simultaneous interpretation headset, heard the whole thing. The venue was in an uproar. To be scolded by your own daughter in public, your character is truly at its lowest. You thought no one heard. But your 5-year-old daughter remembered it all. This is the so-called deep affection you always bragged about. I watched coldly this absurd farce. Looking at it for another second would dirty my eyes. From the day you schemed against me and humiliated me with money, we are even. My lawyers in China have officially filed the case. The marital assets you transferred privately must be returned with interest. I signaled to the stage, and security guards rushed into the venue. 2 6-foot-tall men, one on each side, firmly grab Chen Ze's arms. Bai Ningbing, you can't do this. You're trying to destroy me completely. You've ruined me. You've ruined me. The shrill screams echoed through the venue. Not a single person on the scene felt any sympathy for him. The fashion moguls in the audience clinked their glasses. They got to see top-tier design and also watched a joke. It was truly a trip well worth it. Half a year later, I sat at an outdoor cafe on the banks of the Seine. The sun shone on the round table. Tuantuan sat opposite me, holding a huge strawberry ice cream, eating with great relish. The air here has no backstabbing. Even breathing feels incredibly smooth. Friends back home sent several long messages, all about the big gossip back home this half year. The Chen group is completely finished. They were reported for tax evasion, and relevant departments raided them overnight. All account books were seized. In court, we submitted the work group chat logs as evidence. All project instructions were issued by Lu Ruyan. Chen Ze, in the defendant's seat, was trembling with rage, unable to say a single word in rebuttal. The investors, seeing the situation was bad, jointly sued the Chen family, demanding a mandatory refund of the 500 million investment plus high penalty fees. The court quickly ruled that all of Chen Ze's assets were frozen and auctioned off. Even if he sold everything he owned, it wouldn't even cover a fraction of it. Overnight, Chen Ze went from a billionaire CEO to a deadbeat everyone despises. He was even banned from taking high-speed trains. Former business partners would say when he asked for money, "Tuantuan, take this to buy a few buns to eat. If you bother me again, I'll make you pay dearly." With nowhere else to turn, he ran to find Lu Ruyan, hoping Lu Ruyan could pull out some secret savings to help. Lu Ruyan had already taken the company's last bit of liquid cash and had long since vanished. Debt collectors knocked on the door every night, writing big words on the wall with red paint. Chen Ze had to hide when going to the bathroom at night, terrified of being ambushed and beaten up. And Lu Ruyan's fate was even worse. She went to an illegal gambling den to try and win it back, but lost everything, including the principal. She even owed an illegal loan shark gang over 20 million in illegal debt. They were looking for her everywhere and cornered her at the airport. During the struggle, she was pushed and fell down the escalator. She was sent to the emergency room. Her life was saved, but the baby in her womb could not be saved. Chen Ze had originally thought he almost had an heir and had a breakdown in the hallway. But then the nurse handed over a blood type report that shattered his dreams completely. Lu Ruyan is type A blood.
Chen Ze is type O blood.
The test results showed the fetus's blood type was type AB blood. This report, any normal person could understand it. He was wearing a green hat, cuckold, that was shining bright, firmly planted on his head. He had spent millions over the past few months buying bird's nest and shark fin, abandoning his wife and daughter for this child, only to find out he wasn't even the one raising someone else's kid. The police followed the clues and found the real biological father. It was the brother Lu Ruyan had met at a nightclub, a middle school dropout thug who was idle all day and had been arrested for stealing e-bikes. The internet was in an uproar. The comments were more vicious than the last. A domineering CEO paying to be a cuckold. Lu Ruyan was suspected of stealing trade secrets.
Plus massive embezzlement.
An exceptionally large amount. She's looking at many years in prison. She'll likely spend the rest of her life paying for her own greed. As for Chen Ze, my friend sent me a long voice message. You wouldn't believe it. After Chen Ze saw that blood test report, he collapsed on the spot. The doctor said it was extreme anger, combined with long-term extreme mental stress, causing a sudden cerebrovascular issue. The situation was very serious. He survived, but was left with hemiplegia. Now his snobbish mother can only take him to rent a moldy basement in an urban village. Those who do many evil deeds will eventually destroy themselves. Everything was his own doing. A breeze brushed against my cheek. The air is so fresh today. Night fell. Luxury cars were parked outside the Grand Palais in Paris. The Global Fashion Awards ceremony was underway. Both sides of the red carpet were filled with mainstream international media. I took Eileen's arm and walked onto the red carpet, surrounded by the sound of shutters going off one after another. The ceremony reached its final stage, which was also the most important award of the night. The winner of this year's global most influential designer is Ms. Bai Ningbing from Shanghai. Under everyone's gaze, I stood up, lifted my skirt, stepped in my red-bottomed high heels, and walked step by step toward the podium. This represented my 6 years of lying low, and also my rebirth after Nirvana. Everyone is very curious about your experience at this moment of reaching the top. Is there anything you want to say to women all over the world? Hundreds of eyes in the audience were staring at me. I held the gold trophy and looked at the camera directly in front of me. I hadn't prepared a speech in advance. I just spoke from the heart. Don't look for love in a trash heap. And don't break your own wings to serve as a stepping stone for someone unworthy. Instead of being a caged bird kept as a pet, always hoping for your master's handouts, it's better to be an eagle, soaring freely in your own sky. As soon as I finished speaking, after a brief silence, the whole venue erupted in deafening cheers. I raised the gold cup in my right hand and waved to the guests below. The stage spotlight from the dome hit my right hand perfectly, illuminating the ring on my ring finger. This rare top-tier pink diamond was something I bought at an auction 2 days ago, costing me half a year's salary. It's expensive, but I can fully afford it. I don't need a man to hand out those perfunctory little gifts. I can give myself the best of everything. This is where I truly belong. As for that trash that once tripped me up in the mud, they have long since washed away with the murky water, disappearing forever from my world. The road ahead is wide and clear. The era of Bai Ningbing has only just begun.